we're back, episode 4. Sorry, just getting my notes and some other stuff opened up to continue. Oh, all right, episode 4. We left off last episode where I was going through everything I did, and I got stuck mostly on doing diet, but I felt that was good. I'm just gonna do a quick redress. Basically, I changed my diet, and it changed my life. That's not the only thing I did. I'll hit some more of the things I did today. I have a list and I have a book. It was like 20, 25 different things I did to help recover and restore. And I'll hit another couple of those right now in this episode. Just to quickly hit what I did. I watched the last episode and I felt like I bounced all around and all over the place. And, it's just a new experience learning the podcast and get your bullets off your chest and you write a list, but then you try to look at your list and you remember, look at your list and remember, I don't feel like that's good content. So I'll just try to go from the soul, from the heart. I changed my diet. So I got rid of bread, cheese, dairy, red meat, that type of thing. I'm trying to I made it, it was my lifestyle for like 2 years. For 2 straight years. That was my lifestyle. I was very adamant about it. Now that I've essentially fully recovered, gotten clean scans, clear scans, essentially cancer free, I've introduced some stuff back in, but I've tried to keep the spirit of the rules and not necessarily make it ironclad. Although in recent months, I just have felt like I want to go back to that lifestyle because it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that harsh. If anybody saw the last episode and they felt like the steps I took were too drastic, let me just encourage you. It is not as drastic as it seems. It feels drastic when you have a health crisis and then you're forced to do it, but I feel like that is actually the pressure of the health crisis and not really the actuality of the instance. Those dietary rules seem restrictive, but when I don't eat a lot of bread, I don't really miss it. When I don't eat a lot of sugar, I don't really miss it. Milk, the only thing the only challenge about milk was I was a person who liked to eat cereal. Like, I really enjoyed eating cereal. I liked eating cereal at all times of the day. One of my favorite pastimes was eating a bowl of cereal like at 10 o'clock at night. But milk as a general, I'm about to sneeze. As a general dietary item, I don't really miss it that much. Now, I will say, like, you use milk in your macaroni and cheese or something like that. You use milk in a baking item, whatever. But like, I used to be. This is the thing. I used to be one of those people that would like drink a giant cup of milk just as a person. Like, I would go through some milk. We get some milk. I get a giant cup, giant glass, some ice, pour milk in there, and it would be a delicious beverage to me. Some people understand it, some people don't. But getting rid of milk was not that big of a deal. Cheese, honestly, all of it isn't that much of a challenge. If you really decide to do it and go for it, then you will realize it's easier than you think. And also, as I stated last time, it does become an exploration into other food items. And what happens is you realize you were missing on a lot. You go out and you start eating different things. You're like, wow, this was really delicious. And you realize I would have missed this because I would have chosen that other food item that I normally choose. Unless you're like the type of person like, oh, I like to explore all kinds of different foods. But I think all human beings in general are creatures of habit. So what happens? You have habitual meals. They're probably, I'd say, if somebody did a food journal on your life, there are probably five and a half meals that you eat every week. And it's variations of it. Oh, I fried the chicken today. I grilled the chicken today. I ate potatoes with it this time. I ate sweet potatoes with this time. I ate green beans with it this time. But you probably cycle through the same five and a half variations of meals 50 out of the 52 weeks, other than maybe a holiday week or if you go to somebody's birthday something. And even then, those probably are, honestly, the birthday somethings and all that probably also include the same five and a half variations of meals. So you realize that the dietary rules, they don't really restrain you, they free you because they they guide you into exploring other opportunities with your meals. I really enjoy vegetables now. I really enjoy different types of salads and things of that nature. I really enjoy all kinds of peppers and other things. These are things that I added into my food that not only build my health, but add another layer of deliciousness, if that's a real word, deliciousness to my meals. So I would encourage you to adopt some dietary rules of your own that promote your health, but also make your foods and your menus more fun, more explorative, and more delicious. Today, this episode, I'm probably going to talk a little bit about some of the things I tried, as well, just different medical technology and different mindsets, things of that nature, and maybe some spiritual stuff too. I don't have, I probably could try and go through the full list right now, but that would then make this another hour and 41 minute episode, which I don't want to do. But let's start off with I'll start off with some spiritual stuff that I did as well because I feel like I know it's relevant. So I've been a youth pastor for over 10 years. I've been with the same pastors, attending essentially the same church for 32 years now. Yeah, 32 years. So 3 decades. I've been with the same pastors in the same church over half my life, basically 2/3 of my life. So I can't even, I don't even have the time to go into my full history. I mean, I'm one of those 80s outside kids, the last generation that actually grew up in church. That's my generation, us. So I grew up in church. My mother was a choir director, music minister, et cetera, et cetera. My entire life, my grandfather was a Baptist preacher. My other grandparents were, founders of a church, mother's board, deacons, et cetera, et cetera. So there was never a element or a weekend in my life where church was not on the table. There were never weeks in my life where church and some type of church event during the week was not on the table. So for me to go through something like this, there's no way that I could pretend that I did not incorporate my own spiritual beliefs into my recovery. Now, I am going, and I'm not even trying to be politically correct. I understand that some people scoff at faith and scoff at God, and if you do, I understand it academically, but as a person of faith and a believer in God, I really don't understand it. There's no way that you can look at all of creation and think that it happened by accident. I mean, the rules they set up scientifically don't even make sense. They say that there's no friction in space. So if an object is going in a direction, it has no friction, it will continue in that direction forever. So how is it that planets are not continuing to move in any direction, but they are moving in ellipses around the sun in a cyclical manner that you can navigate the ocean in this world with, that you can count on? It's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. That means the Big Bang, if the Big Bang had happened, all the planets and everything that blew out from the Big Bang would have continued on their own trajectory forever ad nauseum. So the fact that these planets magically stopped and started traveling around the sun, no, please stop. So anyway, don't make me bang my drum on that. But I understand that some people, they don't get it, and it's fine. I will say this: when this happened to me, it just made me ramp up my spiritual acts. So if you're a person that does not believe in God, is not a believer in God, you don't have to trust in this, but I would encourage you to take a look at it. It's time to go back and review our notes and go back and uh, take a second look at believing in God and believing in faith. If you can't get there, I still would encourage you to, I don't know, do some spiritual house cleaning. I think that all things work together. So there's some natural acts that you have to do, but there are also some internal acts that you have to do. I remember I started reading a book. It was like, I think it was like cancer is not a disease. Let me just bullet point that. That only thing in my mind. And it was when I read the book, it was like I didn't 100% put stock in it, but it made sense to me. So it was like if you have internal conflicts, grudges, anger, other stuff going on, that's stuff that's inside yourself that creates stress and friction. And let me not say friction. Uh, Essentially, besides the point, it's like you have to resolve inner conflicts because those inner conflicts that you have can also be causing the cancer. And then obviously there's some people that believe in, stress related cancer, that type of stuff that comes up. So I would just say do some spiritual house cleaning, and resolve inner type stuff just to, on a basic basis. If you do that, that frees up your mind to really focus on health and recovery. Now, I was a person that, has, been a spiritual person for a long time. Um, but if I could be totally honest, I felt like I had essentially hit cruise control. This for my spiritual people, my faith people. I felt like I had hit cruise control on my faith. I had goals and stuff and faith goals I was believing for, but I wasn't like getting in the lab and really building up my spiritual muscles, my faith muscles to be ready for an attack. It's like it's almost like living in America. You've lived in America, so you've never really faced a war on your home soil. So you understand the concept of war. You understand the concept of conflict and battle, but it's never touched your home soil, so it's always just an idea or a theory. But you never really had to put boots on the ground. You had to put your uniform on. You had to like strap up and get ready to actually fight a battle. So I felt like I had gotten spiritually lazy and just kind of like almost like I had made a routine. And then when this happens, now it's like I'm dropped in the middle of a battle, a fight from literally for my life. So it was time for me to my ramp up my faith, ramp up my spiritual actions. Um, and that's what I did. So I'll start with this. When it came time to heal myself, I think first and foremost, if we want to talk about what I did, it took me a hot second. But what the first thing I had to do, I had to get my mind right. So I'm sure anybody else who's had something like this happen will tell you. I'd say a majority of them will tell you when this type of thing happens, there's a bit of shell shock. I mean, I'm sitting in the hospital bed. The man tells me I have stage 4 cancer, and he's looking like I'm death warmed over, and like he's looking like he want to put me on hospice. So I have to take that in, swallow it, process it, account for it, and 2 days later, I have my entire family coming in town for a vacation. I don't really have time to process this. I got to go home to my 5 children. I got a newborn that's barely 4 months old. I got a daughter that just is barely one, about to go on two. I got boys that are in middle school, about to be on the cusp of high school. It's a lot. I got a lot going on, and I don't have time to fall apart. But you feel like you want to fall apart, so you gotta get your mind right. Also, the reason you gotta get your mind right, you gotta get your mind prepared for battle. You can't give up. Like, I mean, unless you want to check out. If you want to check out, then. But if you don't want to check out, you gotta get your mind right. You can't give up. You have to. You have to strengthen yourself. There's so much Bible I want to just I just want to drop in this mug. There's a part in the Bible where of David and Goliath, he had lost a battle. He was being chased, and it was like they wanted to cry and stuff, and he had to like check himself and strengthen himself and turn around and go to God. And that's kind of what you have to do. When I'm telling you to do your spiritual cleaning, you need to like assess. Like if you're a faith person, you need to go back and be like, okay, I believe in faith battles and winning faith battles. It's time to check myself, go back to God and be like, all right, let's go ahead, let's win this. I don't have time to cry over spilt milk. I don't have to cry over why didn't they catch us earlier. I don't have time to cry over why didn't I go get a checkup. I don't have time to do any of that. It's time to strap up the boots, what I'm saying, check our weapons, put on our helmet, and go to work. Um, and so that's what I did in terms of spiritual actions. This is what I did. Number one, I stopped focusing on if I might die. I'm gonna just go with some little spiritual, mental stuff I did, and then I'll go back to some natural stuff later if I have time in this episode. But I'm gonna do this. Number one, I had to get my focus off of I might die, I will die. Oh my god, oh my goodness, this is fatal, fatality. Took all that off the board. In terms of being mentally strong, we took that off the board. I will live and not die. We got to take this out. We got to get rid of this. But the other thing is, you have, in order to do that, you have to put life in front of you. So I took some, I won't say drastic measures, I took strategic measures. Number one, I started being very careful about stuff I watched. And what I realized is cancer is like the go-to crutch to create drama in shows. So it'd be like it was like every show I watched or wanted to watch or liked to watch, all of a sudden the character is cropping up with cancer and about to die or something and I would stop watching it. Like, I am not going to watch somebody who is suffering from cancer on TV. I'm definitely not going to watch somebody who suffers and dies from cancer on TV. Just because even though you call it entertainment, you're still watching it, is still teaching you. So I got rid of that. I started waking up early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I would get up in the morning and I had a list of scriptures that talked about healing, talked about recovering, and I would get up and I would read them and I would recite them. I would pray, obviously, um, in the Holy Spirit and in my regular speech. If you don't know what the Holy Spirit is, um, this is not the forum I choose to explain that. You can go to your local church, you can go online, you can look it up, and you can there's information out there. You can go to a bookstore, Good Morning Holy Spirit, that type of thing, where you can get information on that. But I will pray in the Holy Spirit and I'll pray in my regular language, and I would meditate. I would I would definitely meditate. I would, meditation. I would see myself being healthy. I would see myself coming out of my oncologist's office with a clean bill of health, telling me your scans are clear, you're healthy, you're free of it. And I would picture that in my mind every day. I would picture it until I like would feel it and start to get emotional about it. And I would do that day after day after day because what I'm doing is I'm mentally retraining my mind. This is the outcome that it's going to be. I'm not going to mentally picture myself in a casket. I'm not going to picture my wife and my children crying. I'm not going to picture myself in a hospital bed. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not giving myself that mental picture. I'm not coaching my body and preparing my body to operate like that. I'm preparing my body to recover. I'm preparing my body to run around. I wrote things that I planned to have happen. I wrote an entire mantra to myself. I was like, I will walk my daughter down the aisle at her wedding. I will bounce grandchildren on my knee. I will take them to Disney. I will live a long life with my wife and my friends. And I would speak it to myself because I am coaching myself for that outcome. I am not going to mentally prepare myself to check out because this is my own personal feeling. You can accept it or not. My personal feeling is if you start doing that, what you're doing is you are sending signals to your body, okay, it's time to start shutting systems down. And that is not what I'm going for. That's not what I'm about. Not this time, not anytime. So first and foremost, I started getting my mind right. I started getting my spiritual stuff right. I started waking up in the morning, intentionally doing spiritual acts, praying, praise and worship, meditation, reading scriptures, writing down outcomes that I wanted to have happen and mentally picturing them until I could feel them in my bones. I'll give this quick story. So the day I finally went for it was like it was time to scan. Like it was time to go. Not I had my original PET scan, where you got to fast 12 hours or whatever beforehand. Don't eat anything. Just drink water. Come sit in the room with the heavy door. She break out the little metal case with the radioactive fluid. Blah blah blah. Sitting here watch HGTV. We want you to watch calm things, etc. I had my original scan that said it was in my lungs, my sternum, my spine, my hips, my pelvis, and other places. So then it's time. Okay, I had some medication that I had to take. I know people say, well, it was your medication that healed you. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't, because as soon as I got my medication, I lost my job like 3 months later. because I had been sick and I wasn't able to carry the same sales quota load, et cetera, et cetera. I got released, and the place that I worked, not only did I get released, but they didn't do the whole thing where like, okay, your whatchamacallit, your insurance carries to the end of that month, and then you can apply for Cobra. My joint cut off like the next day. Like it ended on the 15th. As of the 16th, I didn't have any coverage at all. And Cobra coverage, I know this just because in a former lifetime and maybe a current lifetime, I've also been a health insurance agent. Cobra coverage basically is they give you your health insurance, but they give it to you at the same rate that your company pays. So it's not, they don't give it to you the same rate as when you were an employee, because I don't want to get too deep into it, but when you're an employee, you're just paying a certain rate. Most companies are required to cover 50 to 75% of the cost, especially if they're a big company that covers 75% of the cost. The way company insurance works is almost like flat rate. They say the cost of covering an adult person is $450. If we're covering you, it's $450. If it's you and your wife, it's $900. If it's you and your kids, it's let's call it, instead of making it $1,350, we'll make it $1,100. If it's you and the family, then it's now whatever the total cost of it is, like $1,600 or whatever. So you'll go from paying $450 to paying a full $1,600. And that's if you're lucky and it's a good company. If it's a bad company, let's not say a bad company, if they've chosen a poor health insurance plan, what they'll do is the company said the company's only required to cover you as an employee, so they'll just cover you as an employee, and then you'll still end up paying for the rest of the family anyway. And then what happens when your Cobra coverage comes in, which is what they give you. Cobra basically is continuing your insurance coverage even though you don't work for the company. You can stay on the company plan. You just have to pay the full amount of your family. Well, in terms of my family, that quadrupled my costs. Like anybody that's had a child and then gotten auto insurance and noticed how it swole up when their child was 16 and got on their auto insurance bill, you can only imagine what a health insurance bill like that is like. So it's like it was in an uncanny amount that I could not that I couldn't fit into the budget at the time. Let's just put it that way. So I went without my medication from like April till about November, 7 months, and still turned around and came back like 3 to 4 months later, and my scans were completely clear. So I do not want to pretend that medication did it all, because it didn't. I did a number of things, diet among them, that helped restore me. Another part that I think is it was a very vital and important part, was actually my spiritual actions. I believe in faith. I believe in the power of your words that you say. So I was very careful. I was very careful to not even say that I have cancer. Now, to some of you, this is going to sound ridiculous, and I don't care, because that's the difference between me being sickly and dying and me being here right now. So if you don't like it, you think it's uh, you, you you think it's shenanigans, you can feel free to log off. Cool. But I'm gonna tell you what I really feel. I felt like the power of words is very important. The power of confession. What I say over myself and about myself really matters. I feel like that should not be something that is um the amount of times I say really annoys me, but we'll get over it. I feel like this should not be something that is ridiculous to people, because you go to therapy and you talk your problems out to work things out. And I know that they tell you how you talk about yourself really matters. So if it matters in mental health, I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure it matters just about your regular physical health as well. So I felt like I would not say anything that led to me dying. I would not say I'm about to die. I would not say anything that would sound like I was not improving in condition or improving in health. I would not even say that I had cancer. So I would say I got a diagnosis. I wouldn't say, oh yeah, I have stage 4 cancer. No, 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 no. I'm not even gonna even say that as if I accepted that I have it. So you've given me a diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer. You've diagnosed that you see something like this in my body, but I'm not going to say I have it. I'm not accepting ownership of it. So I was very intentional in the words I said. I was very intentional in the things I looked at and I heard. So I would not watch shows and things of that nature where somebody got cancer because the way they portray it on TV, it is never positive. It's always somebody that is struggling and suffering from it. And I wasn't going to put those mental pictures into my mind. And then there was a 50-50 chance on whether or not that person would live or die. If they're a main character in the show, they might live. But if not, they check out of there. So I'm not going to put visions in my mind of somebody suffering from cancer and then dying, because even if I know that's a show, that's still something for me to remember that I've seen, to then attack my confidence, attack my faith, attack my hope, because you're still seeing pictures, moving pictures of something like that happening. I'll wake up, like I said before, I'll wake up early in the morning. I will recite scriptures. I will write out confessions over myself of how I would live, how I would heal, what I would do. I would sing praise and worship songs. This is just going to be the spiritual, the faith part. I would sing praise and worship songs just to, the Bible says praise stops the enemy, stills the enemy. So I felt like this was an attack from the enemy. So I'm going to use praise. I'm going to use my weapons. I'm using all the weapons available to me. Listen, I'm using all the armor, all the weapons, everything I have available to me. So I always sing praise and worship songs early in the morning. I'll be in the bathroom, in the bathtub, taking a hot bath, saying my confessions, doing my prayers, get my praise and worship on, and get up in the morning and eat the healthy stuff in my diet. And that's what I did. And even after 7 months of missing my medications, and then I got to get back on some of my medications. Some of them I did not want to be on as long as, and boom, in basically a year I was cancer free. It was it was essentially gone. I go back every 6 months for a checkup. Still clear scans. I weaned myself off of blood thinners. They could never get it right anyway. They never were able to get my numbers between the 1 and 2 that they needed to be in. So I essentially stopped taking them. And you can say, "Oh my God, you're crazy." Listen, my blood was never getting to the right viscosity anyway, and it was ridiculous. Like all the leafy things, it was funny. They give me the medication, and the medication would be like, "You cannot eat leafy green vegetables," and all this other type of stuff. So all the stuff that I'm eating that's making me healthy, helping me improve, helping my system improve. It's like you can't eat this because it's gonna thin out your blood, and you're on a blood thinner. Why am I on a blood thinner if it's telling me I can't eat vegetables that thin my blood? Why not just tell me to eat the vegetables? Why? So I essentially weaned myself off of the blood thinners. I wasn't on them for a long time. Listen, let me just tell you this. Do not take this as medical advice. You make your own choices as an adult. I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything other than what their medical profession and their own conscience encourages them to do. So I'm only speaking on my experience and what I did for myself. I am not advocating for anybody to do what I did. You have to make your own choices. You have to be led and guided by your own intuition, your own wisdom, your own decision making processes, your own medical professionals. So I'm speaking only on my personal experience and what I did. I'm not telling anybody else to do the same. My blood thinners, I was on them for a while, but they kept bouncing all around. Okay, we're gonna have you on a 1.5. Nope, that's not good. 2.5. Okay, 3.5. Nope, 4.5. Nope, 5. Nope, 6.5. Nope, 7.5. And eventually it got to where it was like all over the place. I had a cupboard full of blood thinners ranging from 1.5 milligrams to 7.5 milligrams, and they would be pricking my finger trying to check it, and they could. One time we would be good, okay, stay there, then prick my finger again, okay, it's bad, you gotta go up, you gotta go down. And I was like, it's ridiculous. It's like these blood thinners, I'm done. And then I remember helping somebody. At this point in time, I was doing health insurance at the time, and I spoke with a lady, and she was like, "Oh, you're on warfarin too? Yeah, they say that's a forever drug. You're never coming off it." And I was like, "Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be on any drug forever. I don't accept that. You're not going to say that I have to be on a drug forever. I'm not in favor of it. I don't believe it. I don't accept it." So anyway, at a certain point, I just got tired of bouncing around all the medications. It started causing side effects, night sweats. Like I would have to change my t-shirt like 2, 3 times a night because I woke up drenched in sweat, like in a puddle of sweat in my own bed in my t-shirt. Take it off, change it, lay a towel down, put a new t-shirt on, go to sleep, wake up in the same night, drenched with sweat again, change another t-shirt. not the towel, but change another t-shirt, then wake up again in the morning, drenched with sweat again. I was like, I'm done with all this. So I weaned myself off from my blood thinners. I just did it through diet and went through another like year to 2 years with clean scans, even after not taking the blood thinners. Period for a long stretch of time. Like just took stop taking them. I was like, straight, I'm done. Uh, and scans clear, scans clear, scans clear, and then eventually one of my physicians was like, yeah, we should probably let's take you off your blood thinners. Your skin's been clear now, and I wanted to be like, you don't realize I haven't taken them in a long while. But that's between me and the Lord and my cutting board and vegetables. But spiritual actions. If I were to give a faith-filled person or a non-faith-filled person that's just looking for anything that they can do, in addition to diet, I would say the spiritual actions. I would say you should go find a Bible, or you don't even need to find a Bible. Open up your phone, which I know you have, or your tablet, or your laptop, or your computer, and look up scriptures on healing. You should look those up, and you should write some down, and you should read them every day. You should read them every day until you have them locked into your mind like you know your alphabets. And you should recite them to yourself, and you should put yourself in them. You should do that. That's number one. Number one, I would encourage you, if you're a non-spiritual person, you should go back to church and you should give your life to God and you should start believing for healing as a faith-filled person. But let's say you don't want to do that. You just want to do some other non-traditional actions to help with your recovery. I would say write some scriptures down, read them to yourself every day. You're probably gonna read stuff anyway. You're gonna read newspaper articles. You're gonna read other stuff. Some of y'all gonna be reading magazines or reading novels, that type of stuff. Why not read something that is a historical document that encourages you that you can recover and be restored and be healed? So I'd write some scriptures down and I read them to myself every day. Number two, I would write myself a mantra. I would write something about myself that states that I'm going to be healthy. Say, I will. I am a. I come up with it on your own. I had one given to me that I recited to myself. It was like, I'm the healed of the Lord. He is my healer, and with long life will I satisfy him. You don't want to say that, fine. But you can write something for yourself. You can give yourself a mantra, a battle cry. I am a healthy, restored individual. I will live a long life and take care of my family and my children. I am a restored and healthy individual. I live long and saying about a long and healthy life. That's number two. Number three, I would meditate on being healthy. I um I really truly believe that your mind sends signals to your body about its health status. I remember when I went into the hospital initially, the pain ramped up on me so bad that it was almost unbearable. Um, and firstly, I tore an Achilles tendon. Now, mind you, when I was laying flat, I would lay flat at home and the pain would gradually increase to where I'd be like, ooh, I got to get up. When I went into the hospital and they started to stick me into the CT scan and do all that type of stuff, all of a sudden I would lay down and the pain would sharply increase to an unbearable rate. They say, give me a pain level between 1 and 10. The pain would shoot to like a 11 almost immediately. And I don't understand why. When I was laying on the floor the day before, and I was like, oh, I can't lay like this. I need to put my legs up. And so then I put my legs up. It would hurt, but it wouldn't hurt that bad. So 24 hours later, they want me to lay flat to go into a CT machine. And now the pain is almost unbearable. I attribute that to my mental state. I attribute that to I'm in the hospital. I feel very sick. I feel very frightened. So then everything is amplified because my mind is amplifying it. Um, we can we can take that versus I tore my Achilles tendon 3 years later, or let's just say last year, in 2024. Now, I have friends who've torn their Achilles. I have a brother-in-law who tore his Achilles tendon. He said when he tore his, it felt like he got chopped in the back of his leg with an axe. Um, my other friends said that theirs were painful as well. I tore my Achilles tendon, felt like an explosion at the bottom of my leg, And then next thing you know, I'm looking up at the sky. But this is the funny thing. I didn't really feel that much pain. I got up and walked out to my car and then drove myself to the emergency room. And even once I got to the emergency room, I didn't feel that much pain unless I bent my foot a certain way. But that's because now I'm bending it and pulling on the shredded Achilles tendon because mine was completely shredded and torn apart. And what I attribute that to, um, mentally, I was aware and ready for it. As soon as that explosion happened and I was laying on my back, immediately I was like, okay, I've torn my Achilles tendon. That I already knew. I was looking up at the sky. I got up to my feet and I told my wife, I was like, we got to go to the emergency room. She's like, why? I was like, I've torn my Achilles tendon. But mentally, I was aware and prepared for it. So I feel like you have to meditate on being healthy because your mind sends signals to your body. And if you start acting like I'm about to die, your mind will send signals to like, okay, it's time to close up shop. It's time to start shutting stuff down. So then you're like, why do I feel like I'm getting worse? You're getting worse because your mind is like, it's time to shut it down. Time to close up shop. Time to go. And so it's time to meditate on being healthy. It's time to have our mind send signals to our body that it's not time to go. It's actually time for us to recover, restore, heal, get up, keep it going. It's time for our mind to send signals to our body that this is not over. This battle's not over. This battle has only begun and we're going to win. So, number two, I'd also write, I would start meditating. Not just meditating for peace in our mind, peace in our spirit, but meditating on being a healthy individual that is recovered to mentally fight the mental fight as well. Um, those are probably the top three things I would do, like spiritually wise, to change or to affect our body and our condition and our situations. So these were a couple of the additional things I did. I did other things like I tried as much as I could to stop using plastics. I would only use glassware, and stainless steel. I tried to stop using plastic Tupperware, that type of thing, just to try to reduce the amount of pollutants I'm putting in my body. If I drank water, I try not to drink it out of plastic water bottles. I drink out of steel canister or glass bottles with spring water. I wouldn't get purified water or distilled water because what you're doing is just stripping all the minerals out of it. I did a lot of stuff. I would walk around my backyard. Like I would let my toddler and my little 1 year old, like while I was trying to recover my little toddler, my little 1 year old, they'd be on the trampoline bouncing around and I would walk in a circle around the trampoline barefoot in the backyard. Fortunately, I live in Florida. If you're in the Midwest or up north thing, so sorry for you. But I live in Florida where it's sunny year round, sunshine state. I'll just be out there walking around barefoot, walking in a circle, like because at this point in time I'm still recovering. I was feeling weak. It'll be very hard for me to uh it would like especially once I got out the hospital, like I couldn't walk through the grocery store. Like I was riding in a little thing like beep 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 beep. Like it took a while for me to. It took some time for me to recover to be able to walk through the grocery store. Like, oh, let's walk in, get some milk, get some eggs, et cetera, et cetera. Now I had to sit in the cart and ride around. But I would go outside and I would just walk in a circle around the trampoline. They bounce on the trampoline and I would have a hand on the trampoline and I walk in a circle around it so that I could hold on to it. And then as my strength built, I widened it out and I would walk in a giant square around it, barefoot in my backyard and ground myself. So I did a number of things. I think that's probably enough for this episode. I feel like this episode is going on 40 minutes. So I will review my notes and come back and maybe do a third episode on all the things I did, or maybe flesh out some of the things I did with a little more, I don't know, more exact notes, that type of thing. But I hope this gave you a little more uh, hope, a little more help, and just some ideas that you can take for yourself to use as you try to recover. Um, Wish you the best. Here's to your health. Take care.